Grab a cup of coffee and start your Sunday with Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life features stories to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Every Sunday morning at 9 on the Talk of New York, AM 970, The Apple. Visit cyacyl.com.
Good morning, I'm Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for tuning in. Our guest today is best known as number 57, Kenneth Ray Harvey. Ken is a former NFL linebacker who was a 4-time Pro Bowl selection and one of the Washington Redskins' 70 greatest players. Ken is president of the Ken Harvey Companies and author of the new book, Xavier, A Hero No More. Good morning, Ken. Thanks for joining us today.
Morning. Thank you for having me.
Ken, I love your story, your life story, because for me, I think it's incredibly inspiring and it's a wonderful story of hope that at any point in our lives, we could be on one path and totally switch gears and change and evolve into the person that we want to be. And that's where I'd like to begin the story. You were a very successful football player. You've had a wonderful career with the NFL, and now you have your own company and you're a speaker and an author. But at one time, you were actually a high school dropout. So why did you decide to leave school, and what was your life like at that time?
Leaving school, I think a lot of kids have different reasons. Sometimes you're bored and you don't feel challenged. For me, I think I was a pretty quiet kid, pretty shy, and just started missing school. I think mainly probably because I was bored or not driven, didn't have really a vision of what I'm doing this for, and so I was missing a lot of days of school. Not really getting into trouble, just sitting around doing nothing, and then it just got down to the point of you're going to either make straight F's, so you can drop out of school, or you can take some of these simple classes that wouldn't really get you anywhere. And I was mainly more frustrated than anything because I'm like, I'm smarter than all this. I got to be better. So dropping out was kind of like, okay, I need to drop out because I was going to get straight F's anyhow. Get my mind right, focus, and make sure that this is what I want to do, and then set a path as to how to get it done.
How much time did you take off at that time?
Just it was 6 months. It's half a year.
But in that time, I had read someplace that you started to have a lot of self-doubts and your self-perception. You didn't feel like you were very valuable. Was that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, it's probably started before then, but it was just magnified by the situation. So here you are. This big guy, big looking athlete who people on the outside would look at and say, okay, this guy got potential, or you could do something. And then all of a sudden you drop out, and then people are like, well, what are you going to do with your future? Who are you? What you must play ball or something. And everything that you probably could have been, you realize that you weren't. And so you just had a lot more self-doubt. And rightfully so, my parents were disappointed, and it was just kind of, you feel like you're all alone by yourself at the time.
Ken, we're all about our attitude here and the importance of how that plays into our life. And when you look at your story, as you said, you took some time off to regroup, and then, you had some feelings of self-doubt, but you didn't let that get to you. You then went on to the University of California at Berkeley. What was the change that took place within you that enabled you to achieve that level of success?
Well, you know what? Here's the deal. Some people want to hear it, some people don't. At one point in my life, I was at the lowest where I think I could be, and I got on my knees and I was just praying. I was like, God, help me, show me something, let me know that there's a reason. If you take care of me, I'll magnify your name and glorify your name. The prayer that everybody says when you're kind of down in the dumps and at the end. But then it just felt like God was saying, you know what? I put you here for a purpose and for a reason. You have a destiny in your life, and you have to believe in that destiny, and you're here for a reason. So, with that said and done, I got up and started believing that there was a reason I was here. It wasn't by accident. There was a reason that I was on this earth. There were several opportunities where I could have not been on this earth, and God spared me for whatever reason. So I need to go back and just start believing that I can do this thing. And so after that, I had to create a plan, and part of that plan was was to say, okay, I need to get to college, but how can I get to college? You know, I don't have any money, I haven't even finished high school. What do I need to do? So part of the plan was to say, okay, you got to go back to school. Humbling yourself and going back to school is hard. Sitting in the same classrooms with your younger brother is hard. You know, and having people look at you is hard. I was 6'2", 225 pounds then because I've been lifting weights a lot. So I was a big old guy in high school who everybody knew had dropped out. And, you know, it was embarrassing, but you got to humble yourself sometimes. And then, you know, the plan from that is that the only way I'm going to get to college, at least to a four-year college, is probably through a scholarship. So football, I thought, was my avenue. Worked out all the time by myself. Worked out in the gym a lot, but then I also ran a lot by myself. And I used to always say when I was running, you know, I'm the best. I'm going to be the best. I have to be the best. And that, I just kept saying that every time I used to go outside and run. And then fortunate enough that met a guy in the gym who told me about this junior college in Oakland, California. Figured if I stayed close to home, it would be too easy to go back to the way I was, so I needed to get away. And it would hurt if you had to come back and say you failed again. So I took a trip, worked 2 jobs, saved some money, went to junior college in Oakland, California. Struggled there for a while. I say struggle, just financially trying to live off of whatever you saved. But then, you know, just kept playing and kept focusing, kept believing in that vision that I had a destiny, and then I got a scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley.
Ken, it's a wonderful story listening to it because you overcame pretty much every obstacle or every reason that most people have for not doing something. You know, people sit back and they take that woe is me approach and this is what life dealt me. But you, as you said, you believed in God, you humbled yourself. You didn't have the money, but you found a way. You were afraid, but you overcame it. So, you know, I just think it's a wonderful story, and I'm so glad that you're here to share that with us. Now, let's switch gears. Tell us about your football career.
Well, I played at junior college. I played there for 2 years. Got a scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley. Had a couple offers, but, you know, looking at it, there was a guy, Harvey Nickerson, who was a linebacker, and it was his senior year. Me coming from a junior college, I figured that if I went to Berkeley, and he's already at Berkeley, and he's a linebacker, and all the scouts are looking at him, then they have to look at me if I make a name for myself. So it's kind of a strategic move. Plus, on the flip side is that, you know, you want to say, look, I'm a dropout and I'm going to the University of California, Berkeley. Ha, look at me. You know, this is what people thought I couldn't do, and now I'm doing it. And then also at the time, my girlfriend, who's my wife now, was at the same junior college with me. So it all just kind of worked together to keep me at Berkeley. And I played there for 2 years. Did well. I don't know if it was super extraordinarily well, but I did well. Then I had some postseason games. The team went to Japan, and we played a team. I was the most valuable defensive player in that game. I went to the Senior Bowl, which is a postseason game, and I went to the East-West Shrine game, which is a postseason game, and I was the most valuable defensive player in both of those games. And then went to got drafted and went to the combines and did all that and did extremely well. And so, I ended up getting drafted to the NFL.
And then what team did you play for first, and then where did your career take you?
Well, I played for the Arizona Cardinals first. Played there for 6 years. During that time, I tore my rotator cuff and my shoulder, so people thought my career was over with. I tore my ACL and my knee, and pretty much people thought my career was over with. We had our first son. He passed away from SIDS. There was a lot of things that kind of went wrong, but there was a lot of good things too. So I played there for 6 years, and then I ended up becoming a free agent and went to the Washington Redskins after that. Played for 5 years with the Redskins. And
you're now the director of responsibility for the Redskins. What is that job about?
You know, it's more of a kind of a community outreach. Drinking is a big problem, and the outreach is to just say, if people choose to drink, to be responsible in that, because the life you save may not only be your own, but those around you, and so it's kind of a push to just say to be responsible in your drinking habits.
Ken, we're going to take a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Change your attitude, change your life in big. Believe, inspire, grow. Salute the entrepreneurial spirit of small business owners, people who follow a dream, work hard, and make it happen. This week's Spotlight on Montville Quality Bakery is brought to you by VMM Benefits, a voluntary benefit specialist. Call VMM at 201-697-0203. If you're looking for quality baked goods without the designer prices, then visit the Montville Quality Bakery located at 12 Chestnut Ridge Road in Montville, New Jersey. The Montville Quality Bakery is a full-line bakery. All items are made fresh daily the old-fashioned way, using real eggs, butter, and heavy cream. No synthetic substitutes. The Montville Quality Bakery's cakes are moist and delicious. Their tarts burst with flavors such as chocolate, peanut butter, or fresh cherry custard. Their Danish has just the slightest hint of exotic spice. And the croissants, especially the chocolate ones, are absolutely addictive. The Montville Quality Bakery's wedding and birthday cakes rival those seen on TV. The Montville Quality Bakery, located at 12 Chestnut Ridge Road in Montville, New Jersey, is open 7 days per week. Stop by and experience for yourself how baked products should taste.
Health insurance costs have risen at an alarming rate. At the same time, coverage choices have narrowed. Supplemental insurance provides an employer with the opportunity to enhance its current health plan without adding cost or administration. From accidents to catastrophic illness to intensive care to unexpected death, VMN Benefits has the plan to meet your needs. Call VMN Benefits at 201-697-0203 to learn more about supplemental insurance. VMN Benefits, providing peace of mind for your employees.
Some people prefer traditional funeral services. Others prefer cremation. Some want an elaborate ceremony. Others don't want any ceremony at all. Visit Funeral Homes offer all types of services because we know there are all types of people. That's why we specialize in personalized funeral services. To meet the needs of each and every family, call Bishop Quinlan Funeral Homes of Clifton at 973-546-2000 and Bishop Parker Funeral Home of Little Falls at 973-256-4700 for ideas and information on how to plan a service as individual as you are.
Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life now has a free monthly digital magazine that can be read online or emailed to your inbox. Each month, nationally recognized leaders in their field provide the information that you need to inspire and motivate you. We believe in a holistic approach to life, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. As philosopher Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power. Use the wisdom provided in the publication and apply it to your everyday life. Visit cyacyl.com for more information or to begin your free subscription. That's cyacyl.com. Welcome back to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman, and today's guest is former Washington Redskins linebacker Ken Harvey. Ken is the president of the Ken Harvey Companies and author of the new book, Xavier, A Hero No More. Ken, before break, you were talking to us about your life story, and the one message that keeps running through my mind is it seems like any time someone counted you out, you just came back bigger and stronger. And I think that that is such a wonderful message for our listeners to take away from this interview, that there's really nothing that you can't overcome. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, but the one thing I'm learning also is that a lot of things are habits, and you have to develop good habits. But one of the habits I kind of developed is I would say the Superman type habit of you sometimes you could put yourself in the down position to make yourself, the habit is always coming back and trying to look good. And I do that a lot. Sometimes by my actions, by my deeds, I'll get down and I'll make this dramatic comeback. And so I'm now, as I see what God is teaching me, is to learn how not to go down in the valley and then come back up. It's how to stay, where they say glory to glory, go from glory to glory, as opposed to going down, trying to figure out how to come back and then trying to make your way back up. And it's good not to be counted out, but I just don't want to have to keep learning the same lesson over and over again. So,
Ken, that's a great point, because what advice would you offer to someone? What have you learned? How can you go from glory to glory?
Well, you know what? Sometimes I think, one, you got to surround yourself with good people so that they can point out things in your life that you may not see yourself. You have to be humble enough to listen to them. You have to create a plan and a vision of what you want to do and where you want to go. And then you have to act upon it. You have to aggressively act upon it. And then, in your prayer time, in your thought time, you have to start looking at a self-reflection and say, okay, what am I doing, or what have I done in the past, and then what can I do different than that if I don't want to be in the same position? And so, my story, football ended, and I actually, if I look back, I repeated a lot of the same things I did when I dropped out of high school. Didn't realize I was doing it, but I repeated a lot of the same things. Once you start playing football and you're like the man, you're on the top of the world, you're a superstar. But then I sat around and I was depressed because I was like, man, I quit again. I gave up. And so I sat around just kind of trying to figure out what am I going to do in my life. And I really didn't know. And the same exact feeling that it was in high school, where you just don't know. You just don't know. I think I had to try to understand, or I actually went through probably a lot of stuff to try to figure out, okay, what can I do and what do I need? And so, I mean, I could tell you about the rest of it. I don't want to monopolize this conversation, but I can tell you it's a whole story beyond football. But, football got me to that point, and then, this is the story. I could tell you the story beyond that.
Is that when you founded Ken Harvey's companies? I mean, what do you do with that area of your life?
Post-football.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting around. While I was playing football, I stopped thinking that God gave up and gave me all this. And I started listening to read my own press clippings. It's Ken Harvey. I did this. I was the one working super hard. It's never give up, never quit. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of all that, I still didn't have that I was, I don't know, maybe hurt or prideful, or probably prideful. And I didn't really listen to the people around me. I really didn't trust. Now, maybe that's the word I should have used earlier. I didn't trust the people around me. And I didn't, and that's probably the same is true with a lot of entertainers and actors and athletes also. It's hard to find people that you trust. And so I didn't really trust anybody. So I didn't really do anything. And when I stopped playing football, I was just like, well, I'm Ken Harvey, I'm the man. People are going to call me up and offer me jobs, and, the phone should ring and all that stuff. And it never rang. Mm-hmm. And the more it didn't ring, the more I got depressed. And so I was just sitting around the house, sitting around. And fortunately, because of football, I had some money, so I could sit around, but you would take it instead of, creating more money. Sit around. Had a production company for a little bit and did that for a while and did videos and commercials and different things like that. Did that for a while, broke off with that. Started my own company. It was called JACA, J-A-K-A Consulting Group, and did that. But it was just more me speaking and going out and talking to kids and different things like that. But deep down inside, I was still like, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me to become a leader. Help me to grow. Help me to be better. So I was praying for that. I ended up getting a business partner. And the company, I say the Ken Harvey company is just kind of, that's me as a whole. The company, my company that I'm doing the marketing arm of it is called JACA Consulting Group, and that's what I kind of do a lot of the focus with. Started doing that, and I got a business partner and just praying like, God, help me to become what I need to be. In the midst of all that, sometimes you get what you ask for, but it's not the way you want it. And so, you get a business partner. We're working, but we're like totally opposites. And so we're clashing and bumping heads and doing things like that. Although we thought we were actually doing something, we were really not going anywhere. We were just kind of doing whatever. And, we worked together for about 4 or 5 years just trying to figure out what are we supposed to be doing. And I say it's like, we're like two dogs trying to mark the same tree. And we just kept going around in a circle trying to mark the same tree. And so eventually in the midst of this, God's like, I'm trying to teach you guys, I'm trying to give you guys all the blessings that I have in store for you, but you're so busy trying to mark your territory that you're not seeing or doing the things that I want you to do. So here I am now, and the lesson that I'm learning is like, okay, what have I done in the past? I don't want to be the same kid who was a dropout from school and makes this great comeback. I don't want to be the same person who tore his ACL and makes this great comeback. I don't want to be the same person who has made financial issues and then have to make this great comeback. What can I do differently to change all that? And as I am now with my companies, is I want to be this athlete entrepreneur. I think everyone has dreams, everyone has visions, everyone has all these different things. But also, in remembering all the stuff that I went through, there has to be a plan. There has to be a vision of where you want to go. You have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to learn the lessons of the past, because if not, you'll repeat them. And that's what I've been doing a lot of times, is just repeating the same stuff and not really learning from it. And I'm like, God, I'm tired of repeating it. I want to move from the second grade to at least the third grade. I want to go to a different level. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm really I'm reflecting on my life. I'm looking at the lessons and the things that have happened before and that I keep repeating, even though they come in different forms, mm-hmm. and saying, okay, how can I change that? And so I say that to say this is like a person who says, you make some money. whether it's $100 or $1,000,000. You make $100, but you don't really understand how to invest it, how to save it, how to budget it, how to do whatever. You may run out and buy the big tennis, the nice tennis shoes or whatever, but you don't really understand about being a good steward of your money. So now you go from $100 to $1,000. Well, you still don't understand about being a good steward, so you may end up losing that $1,000 because you haven't learned the lesson when you had $100. Mm-hmm. And you make $1,000,000, you still end up losing $1,000,000 because you still didn't learn the lesson when you had $100. So even though you can potentially make more, even though you could potentially do better, there's still lessons that God's trying to teach you. You can't necessarily go from one marriage to the next marriage to the next marriage and say, well, this marriage is going to be better if you haven't changed within, if you haven't learned some of those lessons, because you're still bringing you to the picture. And that's I think that's kind of where I'm at now, is that God is saying, okay, take care of the small things, focus on what I'm giving you, be obedient, and I'll take care of you. I have good things in store, but you just have to be obedient in it.
And you have to keep trying. You
definitely have to keep trying. I mean, it takes effort. It's what made me a halfway decent football player is because if you don't try, if you give up, if you say you can't do it, then you'll sit in a corner with everybody else. But if you keep trying and you have a plan, then it's going to work out. But I've seen people in the gym who work out crazy or in the gym working out, and they're trying and they're doing everything they can, but they're doing it the wrong way. So all of a sudden you're looking at them and they're wondering why aren't I getting any results? And you look at them and you're saying, well, the reason you're not getting the results you want is because you're doing it the wrong way. So there is the keep trying part, but then there's also learning how to try and do it the right way, because you can try and do things and keep trying, but if you have the bad habits in there, you'll just keep figuring out a way to keep doing things wrong, and you'll never get the success you want.
So now I want to switch gears for a moment. Tell us about your new book, Xavier, Hero No More. This is very exciting, your first book. What made you decide to write a book?
Well, it's my first novel.
Okay.
I've written some children's books before, and wanted, just as a football player, you get a chance to talk in schools. You see all the issues that little kids go through, and so my thought is like you can plant a seed. The latest book that I did as far as the children's book was one called Daddy Help Me, and I wanted fathers to read to their kids. So fathers don't necessarily read to their kids, and it's not so much, sometimes we're embarrassed, sometimes we don't think we're the best readers, but the reality is that sometimes it's just the being there. Kids won't remember necessarily the book, but they'll remember that my dad was reading with me. They'll remember that feeling. Mm-hmm. But to do this novel was kind of a challenge, because you can do a children's book. It's 36 pages, most of it is pictures, and you feel good about yourself. This is kind of like a novel, and it's like 200 and some pages, and I'm like, man, can I do this? Right. And so it's kind of a challenge to see if I could do it. I had a couple of friends of mine who would read a couple of chapters every time I threw it out there, and they kept encouraging me, and it was more to just one, to see if I can do it. And then I had written it, first draft, it had sat around for a long time, and it just felt like this year God was saying, okay, you have all this talent, I've given you all these gifts, but you're not doing anything with them. You're doing them kind of halfway, and this has to be a year of completion. You need to complete this and get it done. And so the challenge for me was to say, okay, how can I complete this? Regardless of whether the book is good or not or whatever, do it to the best of my ability and complete it and get it done. So, I wrote about this ex-football player. I always you get autographs. People send you autographs all the time, and you should always think, if somebody laced this envelope and I licked it and sent it back, what would happen? And that's kind of the gist of the story. Is after lady gets some autographs, he licks the envelope, is drugged, he blanks out, doesn't realize what he's doing. He ends up killing 2 people in a car accident, and from there it just gets worse. And then there's this detective who always idolized him as a football player, and he starts digging into this whole case because he looked at this guy as his hero, and he wants to figure out kind of what's going on, because he can't believe that his hero would do something like that. And the reality is, it's because he was drugged, and that's why it's called Xavier, Hero No More. Mm-hmm.
And the book is, again, Xavier, Hero No More by Ken Harvey. Ken, where can our listeners go to get more information about you and your work?
Well, you can go to if you want to know about me, you can go to this to my blog site. It's Transition 57 transition57.com, transition57.com. And my marketing company, which is www.cyacyl.com. That's the sports marketing company. That's where my business part is at. But the book, and if you want information about me, the Transition 57 is a blog, but it'll have all the information about the book and even just about transitioning in life, because I think that's kind of a big key is, we all go through transitions and what you do during those transitions.
And as always, our listeners can visit our website, which is cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, read our digital magazine, listen to past shows as podcasts, and sign up for our mailing list. Our guest today, Ken Harvey, former NFL player, speaker, business entrepreneur, and author. Ken, it was a pleasure having you here. I think that many of our listeners can see themselves in your life story. So I'm so happy that you were here to share that with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I think at the end of the day, from that little kid, promising God that if you got me out of this, I'll do what you want me to do. I think this is probably what my purpose is. My life is supposed to be an example of saying you can come out of nothing to be something. And there's just some ways you have to do that.
Thank you, Ken. This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.